What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Been off for a little while. Had some stuff going on I'll tell you about. And kind of want to get back to the nitty gritty of my channel and the reason that I launched it kind of in the first place. So we'll be talking about that, and then we'll get into tonight's topic, nature versus nurture. In our series killers or serial killers, what is it? Is it one thing? Could it be both things? I don't know if there's an answer to it, but hopefully tonight we'll talk about it. You guys let me know how you feel, and we'll kind of go from there. So anytime that you watch these shows about killers and stuff like that, you always want to ask yourself that question. You know, is this nature or nurture? Some people believe that killers are born. They're born that way. And some people say it's a reaction to their environment and a couple other things. But we're going to put a link in the chat if anybody wants to come up and talk at all. I'll do it again later here, talking about a topic or something like that or whatever. You guys want to pop on in. So let's say hi to everybody. Yeah, I've been off here for about a month, close to a month. I'm going to give you a scoop on that. Charles, first one here. Read your message real quick, Charles, but if you want to come up, I'm not available to do anything else tonight. Jinx, it's always great to see you. Jill, good to see you. But I had a good chat. I had a good show on your channel, Charles, a couple weeks ago for about 30 minutes. Whenever your Wi-Fi kicked out, me and one of your subs talked quite a bit about serial arsonist. There's the link if anybody wants to pop in. At any point, I'll share it again, even if we get into talking about certain killers or tendencies or things like that. Mustang, CJK, tough Super Bowl. Well, you guys had a dynasty there. Cindy, Mustang. I think I said hi to everybody now. We'll see who we get tonight. I don't think it'll be a jam-packed chat, but I got some good information, some good slides and that to show you guys. So, all right. Again, been off for about a month. A lot going on. A lot of union stuff going on. There's a lot of politics going on. A lot of things have happened. The representative, the state rep for the 35th district, Matt Gergley, who I knew since middle school, passed away. He kind of had a sudden illness or sudden event. And then about 3 weeks later, passed away. So that was tough to go through that. You know, we're there for the family. We have shirts and stuff we're doing. We made donations, did a lot of things, you know, rode through the funeral procession, did all that. And Matt was a great guy. He's not your typical politician at all. He was actually 1 in a million and very sad, left 2 sons behind, but politics doesn't stop. So there was a lot of rumblings and shaking and moving in the background of who was going to take that seat. So one of our police officers who's on the school board right now is going to be up for that seat. But there's a lot of things going on in the background. And, you know, if things fall right for me, there's probably a bridge for me to leave the fire department and start doing something else, still helping the community. And I'll hope to have more on that. I'll know a little bit more after April's primary and certainly after December's general election. But I want to bore you with all that. But like I've told you guys before, I love the fire department. I love the guys. I wouldn't change it for the world. But, you know, so much you could see in a lifetime. It's, you know, yeah. Anyways, my youngest son's 21st birthday was yesterday. We had a nice dinner, went out, went to the casino, lost some money, blah, blah, blah. A lot of union issues have come up. We have things happening. Something else kept me away. I'm president until April. So a flurry of things going on. Most of them are positive, and I think we'll end up on the right side of most things. So I think we're good there. Changes channel-wise. With the exception of Flora, I'm probably not going to cover too many live cases. Something might pop off or gain my interest, or, you know, it just becomes a case that kind of gets all over you. But I plan on doing the serial killer stuff, the mind hunter type things, case studies on people, and the arsonist stuff, that me and Charles talked about doing. And we'll continue that. We could tie that into flora too, but flora always, but for the most part, we'll be kind of jumping back to when I initially came, got into Delphi and everything that entrailed for my Sopranos fans, if you get that. Delphi, for me, it's in the bag. It's over. Richard Allen's guilty. He's the killer. He's, there's things that are unexplained about it. From here on out, it's a legal case, and it's up for lawyers. So I listen to lawyers that know this, and both sides agree that really nothing's groundbreaking going on. This is kind of what happens, and it takes a while. So I don't even know if he gets adjudicated innocent somehow, or this gets overturned if I go back to covering that, because I don't. This is more of a true crime channel than it is a law channel, and I see a lot of people pivoting their channels, but I'm going to keep mine at what it was intended to be, kind of a true crime channel and not a lawyer channel. And, people are out there fighting a good fight saying, listen, what your guys saying is bullshit. But the only thing that I want them to know is no matter what they say or what they come up with, including a Richard Allen could come out and admit to everything. There could be a video discovered of him in the act, and there's people that will still not believe that he's guilty. So I've given up trying. I'm moving on. He's where he belongs. The good guys have won. There's no video review. It's over. The good guys have won. If something procedurally was wrong, that's what they're going for. No one's this legal team isn't saying he's innocent anymore. If there's some kind of legal thing that happened or something, then hey, that's on the state, and hell should be taken out on them if that happens. But for me, I'm pushing forward, with the exception of flora. And but there's a lot of great things to talk about and learn about. And we don't want to put these killers up on a pedestal. We're not doing anything like that, but learn about it. So when you watch something, you could get more into it. Or if you were looking at a local case or a cold case or something like that, there's a couple local cases to this area, to my area. One is it's kind of a known serial killer that was never charged for anything. He was kind of protected by his dad. And we have something interesting going on down in town right now in the middle of downtown, where a couple of buildings have been lit off with a similar MO at a similar time. And I'm not working it officially, but I'm looking at it. So maybe we have something there. But buildings that have been without power for a long time, multiple fires have were set inside. They're not doing a good job yet. So it makes me think they're unsophisticated, young, mental capacity diminished, maybe on drugs. But they haven't been caught yet. So it's still dangerous for us. So, what are you going to do? But anyways, say hi to everyone else that came in. Olivia, it's good to see you. Phil Bond, good to see you. But we're going to get into nature versus nurture. So everybody can let me know what they think about it. And, I always go back to one of my favorite Jim Clemente quotes. I'm stuck over here. Hold on a second. There we go. Yeah, it's a tough one, B. I mean, 2 Super Bowls in a row. You've been to so many. I had the Eagles, in that game. I thought that point spread was too low. Of course, the floor website, Jake's posting, until that case is adjudicated, like someone has to talk. Someone has to talk. There's people talking, but they're saying some bullshit. But someone has to talk. So anyway, this picture of Richard Ramirez is in the background, but we're looking at his genetics, loads the gun, personality, aims it, and your experience has pulled the trigger. So obviously Jim Clemente is a big nurture guy. He kind of puts it all together, which I agree with. It's kind of all together, right? You kind of want to go all together on these type of things. It's you could piece together. You could certainly find somebody 100% for sure that is nurture. We'll talk about that. Let me show you a couple more slides and a couple more things to go over. Then, as I want to talk a little bit, I have a background video, pictures and stuff like that I did once before, and I think it worked out pretty good. I don't know if that's one of the things. I'm not monetized anymore, so we don't have any more. I can't do any more membership things. And it gave me the most generic, ever look excuse, and then you can apply for an appeal or this and that. And I said, piss on it. It's not. I'm not making a mint off of this, so I could still do things and just not for any money. So All right, let's look at this first. First thing, this general, some information. So I was going over some things today, and I found some good general information that we've talked about before and stuff like that, just to enforce it and help you get to know a little better what we're talking about and what your what your interests are as you come to the true crime era. This is probably from, if I had to say, roughly 2015. More than 65% are fascinated by fire starting and pyromania. That obviously at a young age. It doesn't say that there, but that's what it is. From an early age, more than 60% are intensely interested in voyeurism, fetishism, sadomasochistic pornography. So I'm sure we all pretty much know what that means. Voyeurism, you're looking in your spine on somebody. That's a part of the precursor crime that is breaking and entering, people going into people's houses, and they'll steal stuff sometimes, but they'll be there with their belongings. They'll go through their underwear drawers and things like that. It's a sign. It doesn't mean that they're going to be serial killers, but it's a sign. It's something isn't right. Fetishism is an open thing. A lot of people have regular fetishes with things, and it doesn't mean that you're a serial killer, but it's kind of you'll see when we talk, they stacking all these things together. All these things are lining up into a perfect storm. Sadomasochistic pornography. So you want to do, inflicting pain on other people is the sadistic part. We know that from Ted Bundy. I'm not going to break down the whole definition because I wouldn't do it justice. Masochist, you like getting whatever punishment or whatever, you kind of like getting that. But it's kind of all entails all that type of stuff. And it's for young age. These for young kids are looking at this. More than 70% are involved in sadistic activity or torturing small animals, with 60% of the small animals being cats. Cats, there's a lot of cats. I don't think that they just, it's an opportunity thing. It's like these stranger killers, even if they've stalked their prey for a little bit or stalked their victims for a little bit, they don't really know them. There's stray cats all around. It's easier to get a stray cat to come over you than, say, a raccoon or a groundhog. But this is really a big one here. That's when they start doing things, and the more sadistic, the more it tells. And again, these guys have told us this from the interviews from the FBI back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and even till today, when they interview these actual killers. More than half made at least one suicide attempt. I've read different things on this. They cry for help attempt, different things like in the nap, but they hate themselves. Ultimately, they hate themselves. Even if they're a narcissistic brand, they've pumped up this narcissistic ego because ultimately they hate themselves, and it usually was given to them by somebody older, someone that they look up to as a younger kid, and this hatred of themselves, and it's kind of embedded in them. As children, more than 70% were abused psychologically, physically, and or sexually by a family member. We see that quite a bit, and you don't see it in guys like Bundy. So I think that you can make a valid argument on either side of this, and you could be on kind of both sides of the fence here. And it's almost like you have to, maybe at some point they're going to make a new category where they could say, hey, this was a combination killer. This was a guy who was just, he had that small frontal cortex where the empathy part isn't there. Maybe we could get to that point. Probably we will at some point scientifically. Maybe it won't be in our lifetimes, but more than 60% wet their bed beyond the age of 12. What you're looking for there is obviously older kids and kids that have learned not to wet their bed, and then something happens and they revert back. It is a sign. It's not always a telltale sign, but it is a sign of a child that may be being sexually assaulted also. I know we talk about that. People talk about with the Ramsey case, and someday we'll talk about the Ramsey case, but it's so very old and so very convoluted now that it's hard to make heads or tails of anything, in my personal opinion. Over half are single white males. I would think that number is probably, when they say over half, I got to think that you got to be up closer to maybe 60%. You do see your Gary Ridgways. He was divorced, your BTKs, your guys like that, and they are mainly white, but not all. We know that they're all not males either. So more than 75% come from religious and politically conservative families, with more than 80% voting Republicans. That's not a knock to any political party or anything like that, but it's odd in a way because you have mainly a lot of times poor people. So you have poor people and you would think automatically, maybe they vote Democrat, but they don't. So you look at the areas that they come from, but it's an interesting statistic. It's a very interesting statistic. You hear some of the stories about the over religious people and stuff like that and things that happened. And it just drove these kids into, at the ages that they received these treatments at, these things that happened to them. As we've talked before, the difference between killers, we talk mass spree and serial. This doesn't really have anything to do with like tonight's topic, but I just thought in general, this was a cool thing here to help us all understand when we talk about different things like that. So you have a mass killer. He's going to have 4+ victims at one event in one location with no cooling off period, meaning this is a one-time thing. Now, he might run and get away from the cops or whatever, but he's not shooting people as he leaves, tries to get away, goes on for a period of time. Spree killer. A spree killer is going to have 2 or more victims. There's going to be one event in multiple locations. So different than a mass killer, this guy is going to shoot his way out of the event to another event, or he's going to go to multiple different places. He's not going to go shoot one place up where he has an axe to grind or a beef with somebody. He wants to inflict damage. He's probably going to pick high, witness targets where there's a lot of people at, and, there's no cooling off period. Usually these people are killed. Serial, we have 2 or more victims. We've had all kind of different definitions. Some people have said 3, 2 or more victims. There's got to be 2 or more events, and there are multiple locations, 2 or more. And remember, if they're an organized serial killer, you might have 6 different crime scenes with 2 murders. And there is a cooling off period. There has to be a cooling off period to get to the serial or the series level. But just general information for you there when you hear people on the news talk or this or that. A lot of people, they confuse mass and spree, and I can see how. But remember, the spree guys, like you're on a spree, like you're shooting your way out of a bank robbery where you've killed people. You're trying to go on. You're mass shooters, or either encountered by police, arrested by police at that scene, or usually I shouldn't say usually, but a lot of times what you see is if they're able to leave, they'll go somewhere and maybe they'll commit suicide or something like that. But the spree killer, even if they want to die, they want someone else to do it. A basic nature versus nurture. I thought this was a pretty good slide. It encompasses it all pretty well, and I don't think it really tilts the scales one way or the other. Socialization agents and the environment around them as they're growing up plays a massive role in the development of a child. Makes sense, right? Socialization agents or anything. It could be people. It could be where you live at. You have clean water. You have access to good diets, things like that. Those are all agents to socialize you. Criminologist Eric Hickey discovered in a study of 62 male serial killers that 48 of the subjects had been rejected as a child by someone important in their lives. When we say rejected, I'm not saying someone asked somebody on a date when they were 14. This is adolescence. Dad, mom, someone they look up to really rejected them and, made them feel not important or made them feel really bad about themselves. When rejected or neglected as children, they begin to stress and get confused as they get older. So you have all these feelings that are coming around, and it's hard to express them or to get them out. Hatred towards certain groups of people may also be a motive for many serial killers. And groups of people, we're not necessarily looking at a racial thing or a religious thing or a national thing. Certain guys hate women because of their moms. Ed Kemper was killing surrogates till he finally killed his mom. When he killed his mom and did all those things to her, he didn't want to kill anymore. He was killing co-eds from UC Santa Cruz because that's who his mom worked with. And his mom spent her time with them and not with him. But there was also a lot of other way fucked up things his mom did when Ed was a lot younger. So that wasn't like the only type of thing. General psychological perspective. If you guys want to learn about one of the worst human beings that ever lived, Albert Fish, he's back in the early 20th century, 1900s, the things that he did with children and then wrote letters. Anyways, Common trends in serial killer. Many similarities are seen in serial killers may stem from abuse, hatred towards a certain group of people, maybe a motive. That's just what we heard there. Nurture, neglect and abuse at home. And John Wayne Gacy and Albert Fish, they show pictures of. Now, John Wayne Gacy's thing, he had a weird home life, and it wasn't as to me as reported or covered as some other people's. But he was really sick as a child, really obese as a child, and it just didn't seem like there's not many pictures of him smiling as a kid. Let me say that. And I can't see many pictures of him, but I don't think he really opens up and talks a whole lot about it. He's just kind of blah and kind of generic and just kind of blanket statements. But all right, let me play my background here for you. So again, this is just a background I made while I talk. I think that's up. Here we go. Oh, that is full screen. All right. But no music. So there's just some things in the background. But let's see what you guys have to say about my slides. There's Gary D'Angelo or Gary D'Angelo. Or Angelo. I definitely will. She's doing well. Remember for Groundhog Day, I had one video, then I couldn't put the rest up. I had no service up there. Punxsutawney is not known for Wi-Fi service. Delphi Davidians, yeah, they're never going to stop covering it. You know, some have even named channels and things after that. So that's what they're going to do. But it's free country. Go for it. What's up, Charles? Always in the archive. Always the girls. Will definitely keep pushing on that one. What's up, B? Good to see you. Almost all of them Mustang have some kind of mommy issue. It's weird, and it's different kind of mommy issues too. You have a lot of people, and I knew a lot of people too that were, I guess you would consider today, abused by their dads, beaten by their dads. And it wasn't just like when they screwed up, dad would have a couple and just come home and just lay into them. And they turned out to be really, really good people. But I can't think of anyone that I grew up with that turned out to be like a really, really good person that didn't have some kind of relationship with their mom. Now, we had a lot of people that were moms might have been on a substance or something like that, and they're not in the picture as much. And I get that that's bad too, but it isn't the same as being rejected outright by your mother or to be embarrassed by your mother. Yep, that's what we were just showing the Olivia the stats there. Yeah, like, share, subscribe. We'll be doing a lot more dives onto people in general. What's up, Melissa? The thing with the serial killers, Miss Bojangles, is they're usually not, especially in this day and age. Hey, JJ. Especially in this day and age, they're not running down the street covered in blood naked anymore. They're your neighbors. They're people that can hide in the community. And that's how they get away with it. And you watch movies and you see, people that are killers and stuff like that. And, it's the scariest ones. It's the people in the community. And you, even a Ted Bundy, maybe if you saw him at the bar, you'd have thought that guy's maybe a little bit weird, but he's a good looking guy. Like he's not killing anyone out there. Right. Ed Gein was a guy that maybe, he babysat people's kids. But there had to be somebody, and it's a very rural, I think it was Plainfield, Wisconsin, very rural at the time, 1950s. People weren't maybe talking as much. But yeah, Fish was a horrible, horrible guy. Albert Fish just, I mean, Yeah, Joseph D'Angelo. I think Charles. That was the Golden State Killer, former police officer. And he took advantage of many things back in those 70s, you know, and they're like, oh, there was all these people that were born in the 70s in California and they were all killers. Well, it was the way things worked. Cops didn't talk to each other. If you crossed over a border, and these killers knew that, car thieves knew that, people that did robberies knew that. A lot of times they would not get together. They wanted to be the one that broke the case, right? Richard Ramirez. So Richard Ramirez, early on, some of his crimes and some of the Golden State Killer, Gary D'Angelo's crimes were thought to be of the same person. So initially, Gary D'Angelo was called the Night Stalker, the original Night Stalker. And they called him the East Area Rapist and the original Night Stalker. So if you ever hear Gary D'Angelo and you see EARS or ONS next to it, you know, they'll have like abbreviations like the goddamn Delphi suspect matrix. There's all these abbreviations, but he was known as the original Night Stalker and the East Area Rapist initially. And they thought that some of those crimes overlap, but that was Gary D'Angelo, the Golden State Killer. Yeah, I think now, Charles, I agree with that. I think that there's you know, some people have done studies from it, or right now maybe it's just even a big a speculation or a hypothesis, but you can get that initial mass murder done, and it's almost like everybody wants this fame and everybody wants instant right now. I want to watch this right now. I don't want to wait. I want to wait. So it's like they're getting those maybe 1 year or 10 months of what they would be doing if they were killing people every 2 weeks or something like that. They're getting all that up front. But Kemper was huge and gigantic, and I don't think they've ever had a problem with him in prison. Yeah. East Area Rapist. Here, and you'll see ONS too, original Night Stalker. There's a lot of people in California operating at that time, and they're, you know, and you hear different people say, hey, there's anywhere from 30 to 60. You hear different people say maybe there's 100 serial killers operating at the same time. The kinds that are the hardest crimes to solve are stranger crimes, right? Even if it's someone in the community, stranger crimes are hard to solve because you're taking victimology out of the entire equation. And that's one of the big things that the investigators use to, you know, narrow people down. So there's Dahmer and his, I have a meme for serial killer glasses too. Then a lot of them wore things like that. You know, Dahmer was a guy who came from a good home. He was an alcoholic early on, and it was kind of like a home was a little oriented to mom and dad's careers, maybe more so than Jeff. Jeff didn't need for anything, but yeah, get him this, get him that. And kind of went that way. Now, Gary Ridgway was a lot different. Gary Ridgway's mother would hang his sheets out that he'd pee in. He reverted to pee in the bed, and she would clean him in the bathtub. He was 12, 13 years old. And she'd be in there in her night or her robe, and her robe would open up. And Ridgway commented that he wanted to have sex and kill his mother at the same time. And this is about age 12 or 13. And you just don't come back from that. So he hated women. He hated women because of his mother, and very over, you know, all over them, and, you know, not necessarily sexually, but just not running them down. And we got what we got with him, you know. Jack the Ripper was identified. No, I didn't see that. You have to send that to me. I know that John Douglas's idea of Jack the Ripper was like, it was a name of like a name that they used to use for an immigrant from a certain country. That was just like a guy. They would like a generic, like a, you know, what you would call somebody, just based on their nationality. But I would have to check that out. Coach Mike, thank you. Good to be back. JTR. What am I missing? JTR. We were supposed. Looks like we're just going to get rain from it. JJ. They were initially saying could have been bad, but it doesn't look like it's going to be so. But anyways, the dating game killer. In case you guys don't know him, Rodney Akawa. But anyways, so you look at both sides, right? And I think one of the best debates, and I was watching the show and they brought it up, was Bundy against Gary Ridgway. We talked about Gary Ridgway with his mom. Very over domineering, overpowering. You could even put Ed Kemper in there. Ed Kemper was a giant kid. His mother hated his dad, who kind of left the family. Took that out on him. Also had worries that Kemper would somehow hurt his sisters. So he would have to sleep in the basement in the dark as a very young kid. Even though he was a big kid, a very young kid, he'd do things to his sister's dolls, or he'd put him in like electric chairs and play things like that. So at a very young age, he fantasized about killing women. Most people fantasize at that age, when I was that age, about playing baseball for the Pirates, or in the NFL, or these are what your fantasies are. That's not normal. That's not a normal fantasy. And then he got down to it with his mother, and his mother would just run him down, talk all kind of shit on him. When he got released, he killed his grandparents with shotguns when he was just under 18. Returns of age, he gets released from a mental institution. He figures out how to talk to people out of it, and hey, he's okay, blah blah blah. Kemper's a very intelligent guy, organized killer, very smart, very well spoken and articulate. Even though he's huge, I don't think he's ever caused a problem in prison. He reads books on tape for blind people and helps people cut their meat. Every other goddamn thing. He's a goddamn conundrum. But he wanted to kill his mom, couldn't do it. Killed all these other women first. Then he killed his mom and her friend. Cut off his mom's head. Did things with it. Put her vocal cords down the garbage disposal. And very clear on what he did. Then he drove to Colorado and called the police and turned himself in because no one ever came to get him. And he was a cop buff. He tried to get in the police academy, couldn't, mental shit. He said because he was tall, but we kind of found out later it was kind of mental stuff. So, no. But Ted Bundy, even though mom, some question of who was the father, but mom was born out of wedlock, which at that time and where it was certainly was a little bit different. But they're going through, he's going through what he is as a kid. He has privilege. He has, his good looking kid. It was always kind of a little bit weird. He talked about catching frogs and stuff like that. He would do, different things like that. He would set traps for kids, like tiger traps where they'd put like spikes up. You would break people's legs, hurt some other people. So at a very young age, he showed tendencies of being sadistic. He liked to inflict pain on other people, and if he could, he liked to watch it. And then that turned into what that turned into. And through his means and his ways of being sly, being good looking, being very charming. He was a charming guy. Would have probably really been a good attorney. He was only an okay student though. And I just think that in class, he wasn't thinking about being an attorney. He was thinking about girls, and he would use ruses. He'd act like he was hurt. And yeah, that's one way to get them over there, but he's being a profiler, right? What kind of victim does he want? He wants a victim who's willing to stop what they're doing and help a guy and be that trustworthy, because that victim's going to comply with him. So where did Ted Bundy learn that from? Ted Bundy's grandpa was a son of a bitch. He was a provider, but he supposedly was very abusive to people physically and mentally. And then there's the question of, was Ted Bundy's grandfather his father? I've never heard that answer definitively, where it would imply an incestuous relationship with his daughter, but I've never heard that for sure. But what seemed to set Ted Bundy off was that girlfriend, the girlfriend with the kid, parted hair. He wanted girls like that ever after, so he would kill them as surrogates. So at the end of the way, if you look at Ted Bundy and say, well, maybe, hey, so maybe he was born to kill, maybe that's possible. But I still think that there were certain things that affected him. Certainly wasn't a Gary Ridgway situation, right? Certainly wasn't a Richard Ramirez situation. Look at other people on the list. David Berkowitz, son of Sam, grew up in a good family, but he was adopted. He had very identity issues, BTK, Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader was a guy that we don't hear a lot about his past, but I'm sure that his dad was strict. I don't know if he was overly strict or anything like that, but he became a guy that it was like he got off on the autoerotic asphyxiation and doing things like that. And then it just didn't become enough. And he got where he got to. And if he couldn't shut the fuck up, he would have gotten away with it. But he couldn't help himself. He had to reach back out. He even reached back out with some Rex Huberman stuff, talking about some Rex Huberman. It's like, hey, I can help you. But I guess people went down to talk to him. But yeah, I'd like to see the Jack the Ripper stuff, though. That's pretty interesting. Here's the link. We'll run it back, as we would say here, if we were playing basketball. Definitely we'll check that out. That was always an interesting case, and there's still a lot of information on it out there. Yeah, H. Holmes is one of the people. H. Holmes was he was a killer. He was sadistic. He would take people's money. He was just like an all-around kind of bizarre guy, and a lot of people argue, well, they say he's the first American serial killer. I think there were serial killers before him, like in the Wild West and stuff like that, but certainly the first, I would say, domesticated or something like that. And that house he had, it was just like, oh my goodness gracious, the murder hotel. Yeah, it was just beyond bizarre, and it was certainly designed for killing people. 100%. There's no way that it could have been anything else. The different rooms and stuff like that. BTK, Dennis Rader. I've only heard of him. I don't know a whole lot about him. No longer monetized. Some YouTube thing I didn't follow. I could share it. I'll show you a picture of the thing. I don't even understand what it means. But it's pretty wild. Give me a second. But it's I don't know. It says that I did stuff that I actually thought was okay to do. That I think that everybody does, but let me find a picture. I took a screenshot of it. But yeah, I mean, it's no big deal to me. It's like I said, at the end of the day, I don't know. There were no strikes. There was nothing like that. It was something, some kind of, I violated something. Let me find it. Give me 1 second. Oh, here we go. Let me share that to my Gmail, and I'll show it to you. But yeah, so that's why I can't really do the subscriptions. So everybody's that had a subscription, you should see that it's paused. But yeah, I mean I could have challenged this or appealed this, but I don't even know where to begin on it. Like, let me make sure where we at here. Okay, here it is. This is the email I got from YouTube. Combination of automated system review, we found that it does not follow YouTube's monetization policies. So it was reused content. And when you clicked reused content, it said that, like, if things have been shown on YouTube a bunch of times before, you can't use them again or something like that. Which, okay, you said you can make an appeal, which I didn't do. But here's the when you click it, here's what it says. And I didn't know any of this stuff. And I mean, I'm not going to bitch and complain that, like, well, everyone else does this. So I was just like, fuck it. Content is not clear. Original creation of this channel may have been repurposed from another source without adding significant original commentary, substantial modifications, blah, blah, blah. So everything I've ever used, I've either talked over or added video or something else to. So I'm not really sure I understand what that means. Here's what you can do. It says funny, thoughtful revision, clips of other people, a scene from a movie where you've rewritten the dialogue and changed the voiceover, replays of a sports tournament where you explain blah, blah, blah. See, I always put sound over top, edited footage from other creators. Here's what you're not allowed to do then. This was surprised by me. Short videos you compile from other social media websites. I guess from YouTube it's okay, but that's not, I don't think that that's right either. Collections of songs from artists, clips of moments in your favorite show edited together, which I never did any of that. So I don't, but that's what I was sent. Anyways, that's what I was sent. So I have no idea, but whatever. Like I said, it wasn't, it was very nice, everything I got, but I wasn't going to do, I'm not going to retire because of YouTube. So, what are you going to do, right? Fuck them. Hey, Forky, I was talking about you before. Charles is in here. We had a good live a little while back. Violated something, be put in jail. 174 days. Yeah. I don't know. You know what? I don't know. And I'm not going to cry and complain like, well, look at all these other people. People put crime scene photos of the girls and everything else. But whatever, it's their rules. It's their platform. And I'm still going to do shows and do everything like that and be stuff like that for you guys. So really at the end, if you were giving me money for the monthly things, the memberships, thank you a lot, but maybe we'll still do things anyway. We'll figure a way, but you can't mention other people's channels. It said as one of the things I got, like what? But anyway, I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm not blasting them. It's their show. They took their ball and went home on it. So I won't be sharing. YouTube won't be getting my 49 cents a video for commercials anymore. So, so again, talking about the nature part or the nurture part, trauma, especially as a kid. We've seen head trauma. We've seen it. Richard Ramirez, many other people, Gacy, many people have had head traumas. Ridgway have hit their heads as young kids, has been reported. It may be nothing initially they thought it happened, but maybe there was something that happened later on. But the trauma as a kid, the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, the mental abuse, even to a certain extent, like bullying in school and things like that. But these kids are a very young, impressionable age. And a lot of times the people that they go to for support are the people that betray them or the people that make them feel bad about themselves or run them down. And then as a kid, you're not really built for that. You don't have them coping mechanisms yet. Maybe when you get as a teenager and you get rejected by a girl. Yeah, every once in a while, some guy goes crazy and does something he shouldn't do or anything like that. But, by and large, it doesn't happen. You get over it. But as a kid, and it's like it's mom or dad, especially mom for a boy. And for a girl, it's dad. Bad relationships with dad, could a lot of times leads girls down a wrong path. Not always, but it could lead them down and get them to some things that they didn't foresee themselves doing, so. Remembered it. Well, actually, I put it outside this room because I had closed this door when I come in here. And I might at times imbibe a little bit of my doctor prescribed medical marijuana, and it goes off instantly. So that's where it's on the outside of the door, which is actually better. We have two up here. We don't really need to, but Lana has one in her room and I have one outside the door. So yeah, the arson stuff's really interesting, Charles. Yeah, I want to check that out too. But what she was saying was there's like a DNA match or something. But anything like that, Jack the Ripper stuff, I definitely am interested greatly in that because there was some strides that were made over there. There was some criminal profiling kind of going on, and it's very interesting, and it's obviously it's come a long way, but there were some guesses, hypothesis made based on certain factors that you could look at today with some of the stuff that they do, the profiling of BAUs and things like that they still use some of the same hypotheses. So it's very interesting. It's a couple hundred years ago, different land altogether, in a different time. But at the end of the day, the things that don't change are the motives, They have to get power over these people. They want to see people. Ted Bundy was sadistic. He wanted to hurt people. He got off on hurting people. He got off on total control. He'd go back and they'd be practice necrophilia. You find all that out from Ted Bundy. And then at the end, Ted Bundy, it was all porn. It was all porn. It was all porn. And the people that talked to him at the end didn't believe that. At the end, Ted Bundy couldn't stand up and say what a lot of people thought. Hey, I was just born fucked up, and I had a couple of things that happened to me in my life, and I don't really regret doing anything that I did, because he didn't regret it. You might see people cry in court or do this or do that, but at the end of the day, it's probably a reaction. It's almost an embarrassment. But the sociopaths, right? Sociopaths mimic regular human behavior. So they got DNA from a scarf. Pundits are debating it. Well, I'll be interested in watching, even if they debate it, to see where they could get things from. That's interesting, though. That's very interesting. Oh, Jack the Ripper. I don't mind to get that. Huh. Well, what's interesting about that is, and you say, well, how could you get the DNA from someone that long ago? Well, if someone from his family, kind of anywhere in his family, has the genealogy thing going on, or has it on a website or something like that, they can track it back down. So that would be very interesting. On a victim shoe or victim scarf, but how do they know whose family to look at for it or something like that? That's interesting, though. Yeah. Well, anyways, that's something to look into and check out. But you go back and forth with it. You Ridgway, Gacy, Ramirez, to a certain extent, Berkowitz, Ed Kemper. They all had some kind of abuses, or adopted. And the thing with the son of Sam, David Berkowitz, was, I think it was the age where he found out, and then he was really getting rejected by girls. No offense to him, but I think Berkowitz kind of found out about his adoption and found out that he didn't look like Brad Pitt right about the same time. So he became to hate women, and he was sexually depressed. And this was a release. This was a sexual release to him. Shooting the girl with the gun was a sexual release to him. He would go back to the place, and he'd roll around in the grass and he'd masturbate at scenes of crimes, and it's, maybe if that happened before Ted Bundy happened, they would, they weren't staking out previous crime scenes. They were saying, where he's not going to go back to where he went to before. Where's he going to go now? But these guys would do things like that. BTK, Dennis Rader, again, I haven't seen a whole lot about him growing up, but I would expect the way he is, he's fastidious, John Douglas word, very fastidious. And he would, to the point where he would freak out when things were spilled. His daughter Carrie mentioned one time a spaghetti sauce had fallen on the ground, and for like 2 or 3 split seconds, like he went, like just went berserk, kind of grabbed somebody, and then kind of like went back to what he was, and then after seeing the red, she theorized seeing the red on the ground like the blood on the carpet. He didn't do that. He controlled it. He made sure there was no bleeding, there was no blood, there was manual strangulation or whatever it was, but he was totally all over and in control of that. So, so at the end of the day, nature versus nurture, I think by and large, in my opinion, most of it's nurture, but there is not one single answer. You can look at people that have both nature and nurture. They're looking at they're developing the brains now. They're looking at them. They're seeing that, different parts of the frontal cortex, I think it's called, where decision-making and empathy are. That's the big one, empathy. They don't have empathy. They can act like they have empathy, but they don't. So whether you're born not having empathy, or you're born with a lack of empathy, or you go through life and you somehow lose your empathy because maybe no one has it for you and you learn at a young age, or maybe it's a combination of the both or the two, and then we're going to have an answer. But I think it's a very good debate to have. And anytime you're watching shows about killers, hey, was it nature versus nurture with him? And if they tell you anything about their lives as children, which all the good shows do, they really should talk about their lives as children. because that's how you kind of get there. Okay, that's how you kind of get there. But all very interesting things, all very interesting topics, and it's hard. You could argue both sides. You can't shoot down either side. You can't. You just can't. I don't think you can. I think that there's valid things for both. Oh, well, I'm going to look into that because that's very interesting. Honeybee's going with the genetic side. Yeah, I think both too. I think that maybe we get to a point where that's maybe another subcategory as we look at serial killers. Yes, absolutely. Big time. What's up, Boston Christian? Predisposition that gets triggered by abuse. Yeah, there's probably more down that path, certainly than I know, but maybe even that we know. I think you're going down another path you're going down. Yeah, if it's what I think it is, what we talked about, yes. Well, we're getting close to an hour mark here, and I want to go too long tonight, but I'm going to get back. We'll get back on a more, kind of a set schedule, and we will see. Yeah. That's your case for genealogy there, honeybee. That's or genetics. Yeah, I have to send that to her too, because that's something else. Because that was another question. Well, how come all these serial killers, their kids don't grow up to be serial killers? Like, well, yeah, okay, I get it. But every single football player's kid doesn't grow up to be a football player. So I don't know. But it's a very interesting debate. I enjoyed everyone coming in and talking tonight. Great chat as always. Love you guys. Appreciate you coming in. So nature versus nurture at the end of the day, I think it certainly is both. Although I lean to the nurture side, as in my opinion, maybe that if the nurture side's good enough, it can overcome the nature side. If someone's born with something and if they don't, like Charles mentioned, triggering this or that, maybe we can outweigh that. But the other way, I don't think we can outweigh it, even if a kid's normal and he has this fucked up childhood. But that's just my opinion on it. But there's definitely play in it. And I think someday there'll be some kind of testing you could do on the brain, even if the person's deceased, to say, hey, this frontal cortex, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. I'm not going to try to speak like any kind of doctor or pathologist, because I definitely ain't. But thanks all for coming in. We'll be getting into some more stuff, some more case studies on these guys. We're going to be doing some fire department stuff. We got some stuff with Charles. I'll be doing some stuff too. We'll be doing some florist stuff. We'll be doing arsonist stuff. Maybe investigating off the record. Well, no, it won't be off the record. It will be off the record, but it wouldn't be quiet because I'd be coming here and talking to all you guys about it. But a downtown building center in downtown McKeesport. Maybe we have something going here. It'd be cool if one of you solved it. How about that? I'd take it because I don't want any more fires. I've been to enough. I tell you. Anyways, I work tomorrow, so keep your fingers crossed. JJ, get them drive walks shoveled and salt, and drive careful. Here in Pennsylvania, it looks like we're getting all rain, so no freezing rain. I think the low's 37 tomorrow. So, Jinx, thank you again. Thanks to everyone that came into the chat. Look for more stuff. I'll be doing some more shorts and stuff, but that's the new direction of the channel, kind of where I got on from before. We'll be talking Florida, 2 local cases, and getting to some of the old stuff and digging back into it. And there's a lot to talk about. I still want to do another Manson episode or two because that whole thing's insane. To this day, it's insane. Even if I hear stuff about it every day, it's insane. But anyways, we'll get from there. We'll check you guys out. So I'm going to leave you to it with my peach oolong tea from Giant Eagle. And if you're from Pittsburgh, it's pronounced Giant Eagle. Iggle, not Eagle. So I'm going to leave you to it, and I hope everyone has a great night. Stay warm, stay dry, whatever you can do, and hopefully I'll be back soon. The next couple of days, I'm hoping to come back with another live, and we'll see what you want to talk about. And I'll be getting a lot more active into my community page and stuff, or post as it's called now. But I do got a lot of stuff going on the other side. And as that stuff develops, I'll keep you posted and let you know. I don't think I'll get any kind of job that I would have to stop having a channel. So you guys don't have to worry about that, I don't think. All right. I want to hope everyone has a great night, great rest of the week, and I will talk to you soon, everybody. I appreciate y'all greatly, and I love you all. Thank you. Coach Kev.